Welcome back, everyone. Next up, we have SS Innovations International Inc. It trades on the OTC under the symbol SSII. It is a developer of innovative surgical robotic technologies with a vision to make the benefits of robotic surgery affordable and accessible to a larger part of the global population. SSII's product range includes its proprietary SSI Mantra surgical robotic system and SSI Mudra, its wide range of surgical instruments capable of supporting a variety of surgical procedures, including robotic cardiac surgery. Please welcome its chairman and CEO, Dr. Srivastava. Nice to see you, doctor, today.
So thank you very much, and thanks for the opportunity given to us by the Emerging Growth Conference. So I will go ahead and get started, if that's all right.
Absolutely, whenever you're ready.
Okay, right. So the next slide is just very typical because we are a public company, very typical disclaimers. And so the whole idea for us to create the robotic system, first of all, where we exist corporation-wise. So as you already pointed out, the company is known as SS Innovations International. It is on OTC as SSII as the symbol. And we merged actually with Avra Medical Robotics in April of 2023. The name was changed, and there was a reverse split. And we are planning to get to NASDAQ, hopefully. And so that's kind of just a very brief introduction. This is our current corporate structure. And so SS Innovation International Inc., which was formerly known as Avra. So currently they own the 100% of the IP, which is almost like 124 or so patents that have been filed. And then through a series of companies in US and Bahamas, the SSI India, where all the operations are as a subsidiary, is owned through the parent SS International Inc. So the whole mission was to make a gold standard healthcare affordable and accessible to every patient throughout the world. And surgical robotics is a wonderful way of dealing with a lot of very complex operations, except so far the technology has been very expensive. So the vision of SSI was to create, hopefully, a more advanced technology, considering that we are in the current phase, considering some of the other technologies that have existed for quite some time, and to be able to incorporate as many most current technologies and incorporate that as part of our system to make it easier, better, and ultimately more affordable. Because I think this is where the surgical robotics will head. Our board of directors, we have Dr. Vishwa, Barry Cohen, who was a chairman of Avra. He's a director. Dr. Annadurai, I must say a word about him. So he's a former ISRO chairman. So ISRO is Indian Space Research Organization. It's like NASA in India. And he's known as a moon man, very, very accomplished man. And he's joined our board. And Dr. Somashekhar, who is a very renowned robotic surgeon with very large experience and highly acclaimed, actually, not just in India, but throughout the world. And our leadership, we have all the leaders. We have got a CFO with over 30 plus years of experience. Rama Reddy is our CTO with Mechatronics, worked with the DLR. And Srinivas Reddy is our senior VP for Director of Operations and Regulatory and Government Affairs. A very renowned advisory board internationally, and these guys are all very well-known robotic surgeons over the years, and they are in various very prominent universities across the country and globe. Again, we have also, because we are localized in India in relation to operations, again, these are very prominent group of highly accomplished robotic surgeons with tremendous experience and who are part of our advisory board to guide us in various stages of our evolution here. So when we look at robotic surgery, we know why is robotic surgery, and I think now, fortunately, it has become known now. It's no longer something that most people are not aware. So basically, just to kind of recap, it is associated with very fast recovery. Most operations are done through tiny little fingertip size incision, and what it translates into less pain and discomfort. The attributes of the robotic technology offers tremendous greater precision, and we have very limited actually rate of infections because of, again, very small incisions. The blood loss is reduced, complications are reduced, and ultimately these patients recover much faster than any other approach. And also, although laparoscopic surgery may allow through tiny holes, but many of the complex operations today cannot be done laparoscopically. So robotic with the technology attributes, it allows us to do complex operation while achieving the least invasive option. So more and more patients today globally are opting for minimally invasive approaches. I think those days at some point will be a historical marker where large incisions were made, patients require long recovery times, etc. And so I think it is well accepted globally. And we also notice that there is growing incidence of the whole disease spectrum, with more and more people living longer. A lot of growing research and development activities are going across. And what it does, actually, it allows us to incorporate these newer technologies because of the newness of also our company. So we have very strong senior management team at every level. We have robotic expertise, and I won't talk much about myself. I have been in the robotic world for over now 22 years. And in 2002, I got onto the robotic platform and did a lot of pioneering work in robotic cardiac surgery, developed procedures. And at one time, I had the largest experience globally of robotic cardiac surgery and trained over 350 surgical teams, launched programs all over the world. The market opportunity remains huge. From the current roughly $5.6 billion or so, the projections are from the pundits that the market will grow to over $17 billion. And also, because of the monopoly of one specific company, there is a huge need in greater part of the world. So we have like almost 7 billion people have only 7% access. So our goal as SSI and creating this mantra was to really create a system that will be applicable for multi-specialty, and including cardiac surgery, because cardiac surgery is one thing that many other companies are not touching it. And there's a huge volume and opportunity for cardiac surgery because most patients, even today, after 50 years, end up with splitting of the sternum, long recoveries, etc. And we have a very established, actually, company at this point in time with a fully developed product that has been market launched. In India, we have placed 10 systems. Over 250 some surgeries have been done. We have over 160 people, majority of them are technical people. And we have basically finished with the R&D and validated the system. And currently, the company is revenue generating, and there is a strong pipeline based on the interest generated because of the affordability. So our goal was to not compromise quality, offer better and more features while keeping a performance at the highest level at very affordable price, so most countries and patients ultimately can afford this wonderful technology and techniques. So when we look at the global, how it has been historically and where we are heading, so the numbers in 2020, they were over 360 million operations were done, and only 1.6 million were done robotically. Now, where it is heading because of the awareness of robotic surgery, and more people are now coming on board, of 490 almost total surgery projected by 2030, these robotic surgery volumes are expected to grow to almost 4 times, which is very significant and huge because of the wonderful outcomes that people are experiencing. The compounded growth remains pretty high, and these are some of the statistics based on the regions as well. And when we talk particularly of the market in India where we are located, and this is really our launch pad right now, but our vision is absolutely global. And so the growth rate, because in India we have over 70,000 hospitals for a population of 1.4 billion, and there are only around 140 surgical systems today, which is nothing really compared to the need, and volumes of surgery remain low. So essentially, the biggest obstacle was a very expensive robotic system. So with SSI Mantra, not only we have created a wonderful technology in every way, either competing or better, and also is very, very cost effective. And so, essentially, we have even the system that currently are installed, because of the high running cost, I would say only 70 or 80 robotic systems are actually in a fully functional order. So I will take a few minutes to give you an overview of our surgical robotic platform. And it is different at every level from every company today that exists. So we have a surgeon command center. So truly it is a teleoperation where surgeon sits away from the patient, and utilizing the control command center, we are able to control all the robotic arms and instruments sitting away from the patient. So it has some very unique features, a very high definition 3D monitor. There's a head tracking camera for safety. So if you don't look at the monitor, your hands may move, but the system would not respond. And very ergonomic hand controls. They come to you, as opposed to you are sitting hunched over and then you do not know where your hands and feet are. And then a very large 2D screen to bring in all kinds of patient-related images, various controls, and our command center right from the beginning is actually designed for up to 5 arm controls. Currently, again, no other company has that, and it's very ergonomic. You actually get to sit straight, so that you're not sitting hunched over and neck hurts, back hurts, etc. Very ergonomic hand controls, as I mentioned earlier. We have modular design of our robotic arms. Each robotic arm is mounted on a separate cart that is motorized, and we can use 3, 4, or 5 arms. So we are the only company that has ability to use 5 arms, and we are already developed or are developing more enabling technology that we will be able to use 5 arms. It is absolutely stable, tremor-free, and jerk-free. Our vision cart, which is the cart that is by the tableside team, and so essentially they have the same high definition 4K resolution 3D vision, just like surgeon. So it makes it safer, learning curve is shortened, and most efficient timing wise, and avoid accidents. So ultimately it translates into wonderful quality outcomes. We have a proprietary platform based on our own software, and so recording playback capabilities, as well as the system is prepared right from the beginning for teleproctoring, and that means we can pull images from wherever, so we don't have to fly here and there, and to be able to guide surgical teams. And then on the back side, all the nursing controls are there. We have partnered with Olympus, and that has articulating tip. So we get rid of 2 endoscopes, and it is absolutely phenomenal 4K resolution. We have a built-in pre-op guidance, so we take the guesswork out for the surgical teams, and once you pick the menu, which procedure, it pops up all these images, the target anatomy, position of the table, the placement of our cards based on our system, and how all the docking occurs. Over 30 different types of surgical instruments. As during the introduction, it was mentioned, mudra. Mudra is essentially pose. And so these instrument tips behave like human wrist. They have all degrees of freedom. And we have every specialty covered, including cardiac. And then, unfortunately, as I mentioned earlier, that the cardiac field is not being addressed by many of the other existing players. So with not only my experience as a robotic cardiac surgeon, we have developed all kinds of cardiac instrumentation that will really change the direction of heart surgery. And this is our crown jewel in terms of the cardiac. And basically, it is an automated connector which will join two arteries, is 6 seconds reproducible. Mechanical firing takes the human variation out completely. And again, this is another technology that we have, multi-fire clip applier. And we are very focused on all this evolving field of entire metaverse, whereby holograms, virtual training, tele-mentoring, and various images that can be converted into 3D model, and also mixed reality headsets. We have currently approval in India as CDSCO, ISO 13485 certification, and being on Make in India platform on the government e-marketplace, it gives us preference for many large government institutions. So in India, 30% of the healthcare is through the government. So it's a huge, actually, market opportunity for us because we do get preference. And actually, starting this month and next month, we are already initiated a process for the European and the FDA approval, and we have signed up with consultants who will take us through the overseas approval processes. So various value drivers that are there in relation to us, we have already clinically validated after the trial. Currently, over 250 robotic surgeries have been performed using our system. We have already commercially launched in 10 hospitals, and there are many more purchase orders today in hand. And it's basically, it is developed by a team of very highly trained engineering professionals, and with whatever experience I have, we are addressing all kinds of futuristic things. And one of the most important thing for me always was to make it cost effective so everybody globally can benefit from it. So literally our costs are 1/3 to 1/2 that of many other existing technologies. And the market opportunity is huge globally, and even within India, it is very, very significant. And as I mentioned earlier, because of the cost and the learning curve, the adoption in many, many countries is really lacking, and they are underserved. It's what I call the forgotten world. And so we are going to address needs of all kinds of people literally across the board. So not only is it a wonderful business model, but also addressing the humanitarian needs. And as I mentioned earlier, we have IP portfolio, which is very unique and novel and completely different than all IPs that have been filed. And we are very, very careful not to get into infringements of any other patents. So with that, I am going to stop and open myself to any questions that people may have. So again, thank you for the opportunity to interact with you all.
Great job. Thank you, Doctor. We do have some questions for you. We have a question from Neil Brady. He wants to know about your R&D team. Do they have a history of completing innovative products? And if so, which ones?
So all the things that you are seeing here, it is truly what we call developed in India, made in India for the world. So entire product line that you see, it is done literally from scratch by our R&D team. So what you see is just a portion of what we are working on. And as you can imagine, there are a lot of things that are in the pipeline. And unfortunately, I cannot go into disclosing them at this point in time. But there are not only these various applications, different types of specialty specific robots, pediatric robot, various single arm applications to be able to utilize tele everything. And that means tele diagnosis, tele biopsies, diagnosis, taking biopsies, targeted therapies, and all kinds of rehab application that exist today. So our team is working on all different fronts, and we truly hope to remain one of the best medical sciences robotic company addressing all kinds of areas that need actually, and this is how the technology will help medicine.
And so Connor M wants to know, what does it take to ultimately get hospitals or other medical facilities to adopt your products? For example, do you need to get into any hospitals so they can test it? And talk about how that process works.
Yeah, so we have different models actually. So first of all, in India, we have direct sales because we are localized here. So we have a team of sales and marketing team and clinical support. So the way we basically now in India, at least people have become aware through various conferences and through some of our marketing efforts. And so basically doctors approach us. We participate in numerous various national and international level conferences where people become aware of us. We have booths, we have presentation, we have live case broadcast. So the way it works is that doctors reach out, we bring them out for training and actually do test drives in our setup, or they can go to different hospitals where today we already have system, see live cases, and then basically we, based on their interest level, we give them, commercial proposals, and then deal with the hospital administration to make their decision. So we have generated huge interest, not just in India, but literally globally at this point in time. So end users, just to narrow it down, are institutions and doctors.
And Jay Hansen wants to know how your robotic tools are different than from what's already out there. What do you have that's proprietary?
I think everything that we have is proprietary. And I'm hopefully, my goal is not to get into a specific comparison because it sometimes can be perceived differently or wrongly. So all I can tell you, I think just as a general comment, that we are different at every level from every company that is out there today. It is different technologically. It is different in terms of user friendliness, more advanced features, more specialties, and ultimately economically very different. And also because of the abilities and my own personal experience, we have, so I have been an end user. So a lot of the design input that have gone into this thing is that we do not copy anything and we make it different and better.
Thank you for that. And we have a question from, Reese Nixon. So where is the void in the market? So obviously robotic tools are needed. What is the problem here? Hospitals have tons of money. So is it a lack of available products or lack of technology? What void are you filling?
I think if you look at historically, the robotics have been around since 1998. It's almost like today, more than 25 years of history. And when you look at globally, around roughly 7,000 plus, when we talk of globally, I will only address the soft tissue robotics. There are many other kinds of robotic. Most of them are navigational devices. So when we specifically narrow it to the surgical robotics, what I call soft tissue robotics, there are only around roughly 7,000 systems over this period of time with 8 billion people and amazing number of hospitals all over. So there is a disconnect somewhere. So when we as SSI looked into, and my own personal involvement was, what are the factors? So the biggest factor was cost and steep learning curve, whereby everything from capital cost to maintenance agreements to the running costs were very high. So essentially it became economy and country specific. So a lot of the population in the world lives outside of United States, Europe, and Japan, and some other developed economies. So essentially all of those people, so that is really the bottleneck when you kind of really cut through the chase, that the cost has been a factor. And if the running costs are high, you may have a machine just to keep up with the Joneses or marketing, etc. But because of the running cost, patients are not able to afford. So even the countries where they purchase the robots, a lot of them kind of just don't have the volumes that are needed because of the affordability factor. So our vision was not only to create a system that is very advanced, but keep it cost effective. And I think what we have achieved, and maybe partly because where we are today geographically, in India, a lot of things can be done much cheaper. Human costs are much lower. Manufacturing costs are much lower. So without compromising the quality, while also adding much, much more advanced technologies, we have been able to keep the cost down. So I think we will be able to address, what again I call the forgotten world, mainly because of these two factors: the cost and the learning curve, and both are intertwined. If you don't do enough cases, you will struggle. And surgeons are typical: if they find it hard, they won't do it. And so basically those two factors.
Thank you for clarifying that. A few financial questions from John and Brett. Can you address the cap table? What are the total shares outstanding, and talk about your balance sheet?
Sure. So we have roughly 146 plus million outstanding and issued shares today as SSII. And we have authorized shares of 250 million. I think one can look that up. Our current market cap is roughly over $2.2 billion. And again, this is a very short time, so we are very proud to have created a unicorn. And when we merged together, the SSI group owned 95% and Avra owned 5%. But now the distribution has changed as more investors have come along. And so essentially right now, it is still controlled as far as for practical controls are concerned with the SSI, group originating companies. And it is, of course, since we are on SEC right now, so anybody can log into the government SEC site in US, and all the cap table is right there.
And how are you currently capitalized? Plus, what does your debt look like?
Yeah, so we have only working capital debt, like working lines with the banks, and capital has come in. In fact, over the years, we raised, somewhere over $40 to $50 million, and more monies are coming in through some of the private placements, etc. And so we are very comfortable, and we have established, the bank lines, working capital lines. We have revenue generation that is ongoing right now. And we are in the process of trying to get to, one of the NASDAQ or other public larger platforms so we transition out of hopefully OTC. And so all these efforts are in the pipeline today.
Now, you mentioned the 2.2 billion market cap. Mike wants to know, what's your opinion on that current valuation? Is it overvalued or undervalued? And are you raising money at these prices?
Yeah, I think that is for the analyst to determine. It's probably not my role to say. I'm happy that we are there in a short time, but everybody knows, I'm sure people who are in this field, they know how these things work. So I don't want to predict anything, what it is what it is today.
No problem. Last question due to time from Chris Grimes. What's your biggest hurdle to get to sales and delivery? And talk about your current sales and your potential growth rate.
I think we have our, of course, internal projections, and in terms of targets, etc. And all I can tell you, I think we definitely hope to achieve our targets, because as I mentioned earlier, we have just recently launched commercial activities. Our first system was sold in August of last year, and majority of the 10 systems that we currently have installed has occurred within this year. And it's remarkable that we have done over 250 cases. So 10 systems are already installed, which is pretty good when you look at the other companies historically. And we have a whole bunch of purchase orders, and the deliveries are on track. We have capability of literally manufacturing and assembling of roughly about 20 systems per month. And we have tremendous enthusiasm, not just within India, but globally. South America, Middle East. In fact, we have approval in Middle East from Ministry of Health in UAE. And in fact, our first system on 15th is going out. We are placing another system at Johns Hopkins for research, training, etc. And a bunch of other very prominent US institutions have approached us. And we have literally all over the world inquiries right now coming, because of now we have kind of come up from under the radar, and all kinds of publications have occurred. And so really, I think I would say there is no real hurdle at this point in time, and we feel, pretty good about where we are heading.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for your time, Doctor. Great work here, and please come back in the future giving us some updates.
Thank you. Thanks very much. And again, thanks to the organization for allowing us to be part of this. Thank
Wonderful.
you.
Thank you so much.
Goodbye.
All right, everyone.
Bye.
Stay with us. We'll be right back with our next presenter.
Bye.